Interviewing Edward Trejo, class of 1959. So let's get started.
Okay.
So while you were at Pueblo, what was a typical day here, and how would you describe those moments here at Pueblo back then?
Challenging. It was typically, I guess, if you arrive early. At the time, I don't recall us being real concerned with our attire. I think it was Levi's and T-shirts, and that's practically what
Casual.
Very, very casual. We had a lot of respect for the teachers, the administration, and I guess we took whatever they said as gospel truth. And typical day would be, attend classes. I did play baseball my freshman year. Involved in the student council as a freshman. But it was a joyful time.
And in addition to that, what were one of the most outrageous experiences that you had here at Pueblo High School? Any good
Probably in my junior year, I really didn't believe that I was popular. But I did like school, and I had so many people come to me with the petitions for me to run for senior class president.
That's good.
And I won.
Wow.
And I was very, very surprised that that many people knew me. And also, I don't even remember what you call it, but I was like an honored guard as a junior for the seniors when they graduated.
Wow.
For the 1958. So that was, and I was, I don't want to say that I was shy or timid, but I didn't show my emotions. They just stayed with me. I was thrilled, but not exuberant that people could see it.
I see. Who was your greatest inspiration here while you were through your high school years?
I have to say that probably my counselor. Her name was Miss Douglas. And what I did, I wanted to prepare for college, but also in the back of my mind, I took vocational classes. So her husband was a vocational teacher at Tucson High. And so I don't recall whether it was my junior year that we had a 3-hour class at Tucson High on vocational. And so, I looked at both sides. If I didn't make it in college, then I could make it in the vocations. So.
That's real good. Throughout your high school as well, here at Pueblo, once you hit your senior year, did you feel like your counselor that had inspired you? Did you feel prepared? Did you know what kind of field you were gonna go into college?
Yes, I was going to become a teacher, a history teacher.
History teacher. And what made you change your mind?
My father died after my freshman year, unexpectedly, and our family was pretty humble, and I had a lot of advice from different people, but I figured I better get an occupation and get a job.
That's real good. Moving on, how would you describe your time overall here in high school?
Probably one of the best times of my life. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't even recall any racial conflict here. I thought all the time that we had a perfect balance because, and I don't recall, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say probably 40%, and we weren't Hispanics then. We were Mexican Americans. And probably maybe 30% Anglos, and we had, I don't know, 10, 15% or somewhere in that area, blacks. Then we had, you know, a few percentage of Indian, Native Americans, and maybe a couple of dozen of Asians.
That's good.
And it seems we all got along, and one of the historically here, the Letterman's Club sort of kept order in the hallways. So we never had any problems.
Oh, that's good to know. Interesting. Is there anything that you always look back at and want to, like, to let the people know something good about Pueblo? And what would you tell someone if they have a negative impression about Pueblo?
Well, it's very, very difficult, you know, human nature being what it is, of stereotyping. And even to this day, you know, people do frown that you live in the South Side or that you attended school in the South Side, you know, and which is wrong.
Yeah, and that's why we're here.
Yes.
So now as you live through your high school years, how is your contact with other high school graduates from your class?
Great. We still see each other. We become lifetime friends. And four of my schoolmates here are my compadres, and probably a couple of more that attended at different times also. And you know, we still see each other, socialize with each other. For all these years, even after I was gone for so many years, when I came back, it seemed like we were going to have to find new friendship, but it slowly, not slowly, actually rapidly, we just got back into the same circle.
That's really good. That's really good. And once you graduated high school here at Pueblo, what university did you attend, and what did you major in, and what did you into?
I only attended the university full-time for 1 year in liberal arts. After I got married in '65, and in '66, I can't even believe this myself, but I started attending continuing education.
That's really good.
At that time, I got involved in politics, working with in different campaigns, and being a precinct committee man, being a deputy registrar. It was all different then. You had to do it physically, not like it is nowadays. So I attended, then I moved to Phoenix, and I don't recall if I acquired maybe another 20 units of continuing education at the university. And then I moved to Phoenix, and
for 11 years.
For 11 years, and I taught full employment, and I also was working as an instructor for Maricopa Tech. And then later on, they came up with Rio Salado Community College, and I also took some classes, and I didn't graduate until I moved to DC. So, you know, it really wasn't, at the time I needed the degree, but it was a goal of mine to graduate. That way, you know, I could always tell my daughters, you know, if I can get it, you can get it.
That's good advice. So once you moved to Phoenix and you went to DC, can you tell me what was your transition? How did you feel? What were your goals throughout that transition to DC?
Well, the reason I moved to DC, because they offered me, the individual that offered me the job, he was going to retire in a few years, and he offered me
So you have that opportunity?
Yes, the national director. Actually, when I went there as his assistant, and 5 years later he retired and I became the national director. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gone, because you know, I had a good job here in Arizona, and I was the administrator here for the Arizona Operating Engineers Apprenticeship Program, and you know, I didn't really need to go, but he had met me at different seminars that we had, and I had led some of the seminars, and of course I was bilingual, and when I went there it was kind of odd. I was the only Mexican American with a workforce of 120 people.
Wow.
So it was, but as far as the transition from moving from Arizona to the East Coast, we didn't have any problems.
So you pretty much felt ready?
Well, yeah, even when we moved to Phoenix, you know, people would mention that, you know, you can't go over there, you can't go over there. And this is interesting. When we moved to Phoenix, we moved in a house in the Encanto area. On the deed, on the actual deed, is my oldest daughter was about 8 or 9 years old, and I showed her that at one time Mexicans and Jews, of course blacks, could not purchase her. So, you know, we felt, you know, that we would move in any neighborhood that we could afford, whether they liked it or didn't like it.
Wow. So now that you have experience in Phoenix and DC, coming back to Tucson, what was that? How did that feel like?
Great.
Like you're back home?
No snow to shovel. No, I always knew that I was going to come back, one way or the other. Sort of, I was prepared. You know, in life you have many choices, and you have many crossroads. And I had some good advice from a lot of different people. And a lot of times you have to be prepared for whatever crossroads you come to. And the reason I say that I knew I was always going to come here, because I had purchased an acreage that I could build my home. And at the time, you know, I had some rentals, so I had a tie here to Tucson, and of course all my family was here.
What was the most important accomplishment that you have done in your life?
Probably marrying my wife and having my 3 daughters. Well, you know, I really don't know. I never would have believed, you know, that I would have become a national director.
For South Tucson?
Well, no, to me that was a sort of a hobby. I enjoyed politics, but at the time, and when I had a choice, I had a like the crossroads that I'm speaking about is I had a crossroad. A legislator had passed away unexpectedly, had a heart attack, and at the same time I had been offered this position in Phoenix, you know, for training and then come back and be the head person here in southern Arizona. When he passed away, I was in contention to be appointed to the legislature, and I turned it down. You know, I wanted a career and really a career with better resources and better salaries than being a legislature. So I took that. I rather looked at my career than in politics. So at the time then I decided that, you know, yeah, it's nice to serve people, but many times it's a thankless job.
Wow. Throughout your life, What's one good advice that you could give now that you could get a Pueblo student to?
Just continue and just, as I have advised my daughters, reach for the sky. Don't reach for the ceiling, reach for the sky. And if you only get halfway there, look how far you went. And never let anybody tell you you can't do it. Because, you know, you can. Many, many times, as I can attest, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but if you put your mind to it, I have to give a lot of credit to my wife. We've had a real good marriage. Been married 46 years, and you really have to be together in what you're doing. And I do recall when I was offered the position in Phoenix, she said, you know, whatever you want to do.
So you took that opportunity?
Yes.
It's about taking those, taking advantages of those opportunities.
And people are people wherever you go. And that's, I mean, I read this morning's paper. I read the letters to the editor. And I sort of just chuckled because here we are in 2011. And this individual that wrote that letter is talking like that we don't have any prejudice here. And I'm just wondering where have they been?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I still see it here, even in this day and age. Maybe it's getting better, but we're not there.
Is there any other problems that back then that are still now?
Well, at the time, I don't know. One of the things that it's kind of sad is that when Pueblo and Catalina were built, we were very happy because we had a new school. And at one time, I had an opportunity to visit Catalina. And it really opened my eyes that was a better built school than Pueblo. So it's, yeah.
But you still gave it your best shot here in
That's
Pueblo
right.
High School.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't the building, it was the education.
When you were mayor here in South Tucson, what were some issues that you have to deal with?
First of all, one of the main issues that nobody even talks about it today was, which is health and welfare and pension plan for the workers. And I spearheaded that. So now, you know, what, so many years later, they have a pension and a health. And the reason I was so adamant about it is because I belonged to a union and I had that. And if I can have it, why can't every worker have it? So we did get that. I was able to get a majority on the council to vote for it. And I don't recall whether we didn't give them a raise, but we gave them the pension and the health insurance. The budget was always a real tough issue. And the lack of police force for the amount of disturbance that we had just in South Tucson. At the time we had so many bars and we had so many people from around metropolitan Tucson coming and purchasing underage purchasing liquor, because as you know, anybody that would be outside of age wanting another drink, you know, you buy them another drink and they'll buy you cases of beer. The other issue is that we went into a manager form of government. At the time, we just had a clerk, and in my time as a councilman and the mayor, we went to have a town manager to this day.
And this was at the age?
At the age that when I first got elected, I was probably 29, 30 years old.
That's really
And I was there for, I did 2 terms, and then I moved to Phoenix, so I left it.
Adding to that, no, that's just the other political speakers out there. What's a good advice that you would give them?
To political speakers, don't lose their idealism. That's a tough one. That they do have to think about who they're serving and who elected them. And a lot of times, in my own opinion, is they're not doing it. They're doing it for their own use. And I can't help it by saying that, in my opinion, that a lot of times they're just grandstanding. Because it's very, very difficult for any politician to be an expert in every field. And quite frankly, I think some of our elected officials, that's what they try to insinuate to their constituents. That their expertise are in every field that you can think of.
Is there anything else that you want to add on to
No, not that I can think right off the bat.
Very good.
Just say thank you.
Thank you. I was like waiting for